You're streaming on GNN, the global news network. This is a special presentation of Japan Journal, the internet's #1 English language online cybercast from Japan. GNN is a network of TDM, Totown Digital Media, a division of Totown Communications Group Japan. And now your host, Malcolm W. Adams.
Hello.
Hey, there he is. Man, you're harder to catch than the common cold.
Oh man, I think you're more harder to catch.
We're both busy, man. I appreciate you, bro. Rather impromptu this time, but I respect what you're doing. First and foremost, let's take care of what's coming up from you.
Okay.
Actually, tomorrow, Sunday, your time, right?
Right.
Tell the folks what we've got. Generally, we're talking about the politicization of this corona and this pandemic. Speak
Absolutely.
on what's coming up for you tomorrow.
Right. Well, tomorrow we're going to be talking about the politicization of COVID. And the reality is that politics got involved in a pandemic. It failed miserably. And lots of people were injured and gotten sick because of the lack of scientific evidence on really understanding the COVID, both in the vaccine spectrum and also the fact of just understanding the disease presentation itself. And what we said earlier, when we did our earlier interviews, is true that we're going to be doing booster shots for 500 years.
Yeah, you
also,
said that. You said it. I got proof a couple of years. So yeah.
The fact that the vaccine never had any credibility at all. And the sad thing about it is that it was politics involved in it. Now we know the science, and the most important thing for your listener is to understand the science. And last week it came out, the scientific study on COVID in affected people who are vaccinated and unvaccinated. And the results is a person that has COVID virus, vaccinated or unvaccinated, produce 1,000 viruses every minute for 8 days, period. There's nothing to talk about. We're talking about just normally exhale. And you need to understand it only takes 300 viruses to cause an infection or start an infection in an individual. So a person infected again with the COVID virus who has been vaccinated produces 1,000 viruses every minute for 8 days. And that tells you the vaccine had no credibility. It never worked. And that's why it became such politics involved in it, because they didn't have the science to back up something that they pushed through. And it really, really is just a tragedy to the world itself.
Yeah. So what's next? Listen, I'm able to report to you now in Japan in the last month or so, there's been a recurrence of a new strain. I don't know about in the States or around the world, but certainly in Japan, I've got 4 students from the Adams International Academy who contracted this new strain, and we haven't seen anything for several months. Talk to me. Where are we at now?
Well, this is reality, Malcolm, that we're still in the middle of the pandemic. It's just a different phase of the pandemic. It really is not a pandemic anymore. It's what I call global endemic. These infections are established in the population, same in Japan, the same as the United States. And you have to realize, Malcolm, that in each country, there's a different serotype. The Peruvian COVID is different than the Japan COVID. The Japan COVID is different than the US strain. At the end of the day, this problem that we had, an issue with the virus, and we talked about this earlier, is that the coronavirus is the most mutagenic virus on the planet. It's changing every day. They have mutations. And you guys know alpha strain, the beta strain, the gamma strain, the delta strain, the lambda strain. Now we're into the Omicron. Now we have virus, we have Parola, and these viruses mutating. And guess what? The vaccine has no ability, does not work, and even oral medication, Paxlovid, does not have the science to back it up. In fact, they're about to pull it from the market, which tells you it was just an absolute farce in the angles of effective global history.
I'm laughing and smiling because we're streaming live, by the way. So I'm going to post-produce this and go back 2 years ago with you telling you warned the world, man. They didn't hear you. You told me that your grandchildren were not going to be taking any of these vaccines, man. Wow.
It's true. And the people that drunk the Kool-Aid, I feel sorry for them because you can't take it back. And then you understand, now you have to understand that when you do a vaccine platform, Malcolm, you do one in the middle of a pandemic, you create the mutations. You put the evolutionary stress on the actual virus. And the virus has no choice but to change. And when you're vaccine, and we talked about these famous words, and it's so incredible that we're revisiting these words, is that everybody needs to understand vaccine efficacy and vaccine effectiveness.
Absolutely. We dealt with that. Yes.
Yeah.
You schooled me on it, man. That's how I can report on this. Talking about the efficacy of the vaccine. And it takes time to do that, right?
Absolutely. You take the vaccine efficacy of the major COVID vaccines, Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, Pfizer. Well, each one of these guys probably got 97% vaccine efficacy, which means that they had 100 people that were very healthy. 3 of them got a headache. That's a 90%. But when you take that and put it in the field, and you have to the person with autism, somebody with immunosuppressive disease, HIV, pregnant females, minorities, Asians versus Chinese, what happens is that number drops from vaccine efficacy of 97%, it drops down to vaccine effectiveness on an average, probably about 13% on all 3 vaccines, which means it's never going to create herd immunity. It can't do it. It's impossible. And that's reality. That's why it takes 10 years to create a vaccine, because then you test multiple different subject matter individuals, from people with Down syndrome to pregnant female, and then you come up with a real vaccine effectiveness. And at the end of the day, I'm sorry, natural immunity will always outweigh vaccine induced immunity, especially when it comes to the COVID virus.
Shortly after our last interview, I had a very respected doctor from Kyoto University who appealed to me to help him get his message out globally through the Foreign Correspondents Club of Tokyo. And I set him up and we did an interview, and he had an approach to herd immunity here. I ain't heard from him since, man.
The biggest problem that we've had on the politics is, is that you had a lot of people jump into a lane that never had qualification.
Trust me.
They've never been in the jungles. They've never had viruses, and that was when people were getting misinformation and disinformation. I mean, you had people like Whoopi Goldberg and Sean Penn and the Roland Martins, pushing something that had no credibility.
Oh man, where the veracity of the information? Come on, you're supposed to be journalists, man. I never went there, brother.
Howard Stern was talking about, exterminating people. If he was president that didn't get the COVID vaccine, and now we find out that the vaccine didn't have the credibility. It was the vaccinated people were the super spreader of the infection, Malcolm. That's the facts. They took vaccinated, walked around, no mask, no protocols. I said earlier, the studies have already done is that they're producing 1,000 viruses just normally breathing, exhaling them for 8 days minimum. And that's why when it comes to quarantine, it was a politics again. They say, we know now that the virus is an infection, vaccinated person or unvaccinated person produces 1,000 viruses every minute for 8 days. So here's the deal. That in immunology, I'm a professor, I'm teaching immunology as we speak to my students. It takes a minimum of 7 to 14 days to make the neutralizing antibodies. So you're still infected on day 7, day 8. So people that were going back to work at day 5, they were spreading and it became a super spreader event. And that's the sad thing about it.
Man, but that's a fact too. And that's understandable if you know the science, Doc. Let me shift gears because I know you got to get to it. When is your event and how can people join you? Give me the heads up on that, please.
Well,
it's Saturday night right there right now. It's Sunday midday here.
About what time is it here? I don't know, probably 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock here in Central Mountain Standard Time. But we have a program tomorrow called with the, about the, a meeting tomorrow talking about the politicization of the COVID virus and how it affected not just Black Americans, but how it, interfered with the whole entire world. and you never make a disease become, with politics. And if we want to talk about a disease that was politics in America, we can kind of liken it to the Tuskegee syphilis experiment, because the reality that you guys became the folks that had to take the vaccine.
Smallpox on the blankets.
Yeah, and so tomorrow night we'll be having on the Economic Leadership Committee a town hall with me and a political science professor out of Georgia, talking about the facts of how this virus became politicized, and it killed and injured millions of people, and the consequences of what they did was absolutely wrong. Will be with us for the next 50 to 100 years. We'll be dealing with the results.
Okay, Doc, I'm not going to keep you, but I can't let you go without getting your input on the news associated with Senator Rand Paul's announcement of official criminal referral, saying that an email showed that Dr. Fauci of COVID testimony was absolutely a lie. You know the story, and it was all about gain of function suspicions in the Wuhan laboratory. Let me just share this background for our viewers if they're not aware. Senator Paul pointed to an email from February 2020 in which Fauci detailed a call with British medical researcher Jeremy Farrar, who was director of the Wellcome Trust at the time. And according to Fauci, those on the task force called, including Francis Collins, a former director of the National Human Genome Research Institute, and other highly credible scientists with expertise in evolutionary biology, expressed concern about the, quote, fact upon viewing the sequences of several isolates of the nCoV, there were mutations in the virus that would be most unusual to have evolved naturally in the bats, and that there was a suspicion that this mutation was intentionally inserted as a result of what's it called? Gain of function research. Speak on it, Doc. What do you think about that news that they're now trying to prosecute Fauci for an alleged lie or miscommunication? Fauci react on that, and I'm not sure that's probably something that's going to come up in your meeting tomorrow. I'm not sure, but speak on it for me, and then I'll let you go.
Yeah, the reality is that, gain of function is done all the time, and Fauci did lie under oath. That's just a fact. Did they do gain of function manipulation? Absolutely. This is what the science says you did. This is what the record says. But you have to understand, Fauci is really a fraud, and we can see that now because he's been, subpoenaed by 2 attorney generals from Missouri, Louisiana, and in his deposition on COVID, the whole spectrum, he had 107 he couldn't recall. And so this goes to the fact that this guy was all over the board. And now we know for a fact he had involvement with the Pfizer company, paybacks, The reality now is that Fauci is a fraud. The CNN, it is out there now that I pushed something on people that he injured millions and hurt millions of people and killed millions of people. And at the end of the day, what he did on society and the world was really a genocide.
At the end of the day, we talk in journalism, but follow the money. So there was an $8 million funding associated with the Wuhan experimentation too, that they were trying to cover the efficacy of that particular funding and try to hide the fact that something may have gone awry in the laboratory too.
Right.
You spoke about the natural connection between the bat, but there's also the possibility of something having gone awry in the weaponization, so to speak, of this virus. Speak on those 2 issues, and then I'll let you go.
Yeah, but probably what would have happened that, and both theories are very, very likely to occur, and it could have occurred simultaneously, period, end of story. One, there's always going to be the coronavirus in a natural environment. Virus jump from animals into human beings. The coronavirus, every animal on the planet, in particular bats. I mean, there's over like 700 different coronaviruses in bats themselves. And so it's very likely, because if you've been in that type of environment, because we always look for pandemics in wet markets where you have animals mixed with other animals, i.e. pigs on top of bats, bats on top of ducks, they're interchanging viruses. That's a plausibility, 100%. The second plausibility is that true. If they're doing gain of function, there are always lab accidents. And somebody could have breathed in the virus, contracted the virus, in multiple different ways in a lab that was doing gain of function in Wuhan, and he was sick and went home and he coughed, and that could have been patient zero also. But at the end of the day, the coronavirus is immunogenic. It doesn't where it came from. It has changed the whole world, and the reality is that you cannot put this genie back in.
Man, thank you very much. I appreciate you, bro. I really do. Just before I let you go, give us a comment or two, some advice as to how to deal with this as people, you know, who remain alive on the planet, man, are going to have to deal with this. You call it not a pandemic, but an endemic?
Yeah, it's in pandemic means worldwide. Endemic means it is in your geographic location. It's there permanent. And the biggest thing about COVID itself that your audience needs to understand, Malcolm, is that coronavirus kill or injure more people than the flu ever will. Why? Because the flu is very seasonal. It's October, November, December. Sure. The coronavirus is all seasons: summertime, wintertime, fall time. So you have much more infection rates, higher rates, because this virus never sleeps. It continues to do what it does. At the end of the day, like I've always at the beginning, the reason why we have biosafety security protocols and understanding that I'm an infectious disease specialist, and I work in laboratories with viruses. I work with patients with monkeypox. I work with patients with tuberculosis. I work with patients with Ebola. I understand the world of infectious diseases, but there's a certain amount of protection that people need, just the baseline. The reason why mask, folks, is that it will decrease the viral load for you getting infected, i.e., it takes 300 viruses for the coronavirus to infect you. You breathe in 300 viruses, you got an infection. Well, guess what? If you wear a mask, you will decrease the possibility of that viral load of getting to 300. If somebody coughs in the public, sneezes, you walk through it, you have your mask, you're not going to get them 100% infection, which it helps you. And then the vice versa, if somebody's infected with COVID, and they're, like we said, they exhale 1,000 viruses every minute for 8 days. Well, the mask, that virus concentrated in their mask. So wearing a mask is what I call situational awareness. You're on a train, you're on a plane, wear one. Most important thing in a public space is also making sure you wash your hands, because the reality is that keypads, pen machines, touching door handles, touching the gas pump handles are all infected with feces. And we know feces is probably the biggest transmitter of the virus, because we see more virus in the gastrointestinal tract. And then the third thing is making sure that you understand, and the Japanese culture has already figured it out, never wear your shoes in. That's
the words right out of my mouth.
Yeah, never wear your shoes in your house. And the fourth thing is probably when you're sick, making sure that you close your lid on your toilet, because people are sick, they have a bowel movement, they flush that toilet, the feces becomes aerosolized and the whole place is infected, especially in a public space.
How you like my mask, man?
I love your mask. Situational awareness of the mask.
We haven't stopped. We were doing it before the pandemic. Common cold, Japanese
right.
mask up. Not that they infect the soils, they don't infect you. How's that for a culture, man? Come on.
Well, yeah, that's smart. But like we said, the most important thing that you learned tonight is that the reality is that a person vaccinated produces 1,000 viruses every minute. That's reality for 8 days minimum. And an unvaccinated person does the same thing. So that is why you wear a mask in certain situations and stuff.
Sure,
That's why you shut your lid on your toilet. That's why you don't wear your shoes in your house. And you definitely wash your hands and protect your hands when you're in the general public and stuff. So this is our reality.
I felt like a poor stepchild when I went back 2 years ago to be inducted into the Omaha Press Club Hall of Fame. I went to an event, man, 300 people. Nobody had a mask on but me, man. I'm going, I got to get out of here quick.
Well, this is sad, but we're in an exponential growth now of COVID infection here in the United States. Arkansas, we have my university. We have baseball team was infected. We had to close the camp for five days. Morris Brown, Selma, Morehouse in Atlanta had to close down. Schools in Texas, and so the infection is going wild. the United States. And that's just the reality. The problem that we're having is that the mainstream media is just not reporting it. And that's because the numbers are going out the roof. You find testing at CVS Pharmacy or Walmart because they're going around the shelf. And then you can see we're going to have a very bad year because we're going to have what we call an endemic, where we'll have not just COVID, people have RSV infection, and they will also have influenza. And you can get a combo infection with all three.
Doc, I appreciate you. I know you're busy. Get your rest and good luck with the program tomorrow. As far as being a media guy and getting the message out, you can count on me. Please revisit from time to time. Let's do more of these just to keep the word out and keep people safe.
When you want to do a full program, let me know. We can make it happen.
Yeah, I would love to do that. I'd love to do it. Okay, before you go, update us on your activity now. I know you're busy. I see you all over the media. But where are you now? Are you in Arkansas now?
I'm in Little Rock, Arkansas. I'm teaching here. I'm a professor. I teach virology here in Little Rock, and I have my lab here.
I saw footage of your lab, man. It looks awesome. Tell me about it. Is that new for you?
Yeah, it was new at the university, but I'm excited about it. I just got back from Peru a month ago. Went down there and helped people with HIV, dengue, and monkeypox, and also did some research in dengue. They had a lot of patients that have dengue. And I'm just finishing up a Department of Army Defense project where we're getting samples of patients with infectious diseases, in particular like dengue, and testing out new machines, assays to be able to detect a dengue. And then I'll be heading back down to Peru in about a month to do some more research. And in December, I'll take about 25, 30 students to Peru, and I'll do about 10 pediatric congenital surgeries on deformed kids that need it in the country, and then teach these students about infectious diseases.
You need a Peace Prize, brother. We're going to work on that for helping the world, man. Appreciate you. I really do. Thanks so much. Thanks for giving me a few minutes, and I'll give you more of a heads up next time. Good luck on the program tomorrow. I'll be joining, and also I'll put a notification up for my viewers to check into.
Thank you very much.
From Japan, who appreciate the information. Your analysis and your assessment is very compatible with the Japanese protocols right now. So shout out, appreciate you.
These are very, very intelligent culture, and they've been ahead for thousands of years. And like I say, I always appreciate you. Let me come on your platform, and I look forward to coming back again, Malcolm. Like we say in the military, salute you, and a good night to you too. Bye-bye.
Okay, bro. Thanks so much. And thank you very much. This is it for this quick impromptu report on Japan Journal, the internet's #1 English language online cybercast from Japan, with your host, Mal Adams here, and my special guest working with us, Dr. Lane Rowling, coming from Little Rock, Arkansas, on the new politicization of the coronavirus. Thank you very much for joining us, and we're streaming live on Facebook. Shout out to all my subscribers from all over the world. Please like us, please comment, please share, and let's keep the information flowing. Peace, and I'm out. Thank you. Good day.
You're streaming on GNN, the global news network. This is a special presentation of Japan Journal, the internet's #1 English language online cybercast from Japan. GNN is a network of TDM, Totown Digital Media, a division of Totown Communications Group Japan.